Queen. Are you ready?
Yeah.
We are thrilled to welcome. It's one of the stars of one of the best dramas this country has produced, a.k.a. Linda Smiles Miles on Wentworth, Jacquie Brennan. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, Jackie.
I feel like I need to step back and let the love exude.
Well, let me just give you some background to my love, which is that I grew up in a little town in Western Australia. My mum was a bingo caller. And every Thursday night, she would go and call bingo, and I would sit with Dad with a pack of clinkers and watch Prisoner. And the memories of that, they are still with me. I didn't spend a lot of time with my dad, so it was one of those kind of moments. And also, I think as a little girl, I knew how revolutionary it was on some level to see a show that was dominated by chicks.
Yes, and it took a long time for that to come back, didn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah.
So when you got the role, because Linda's an absolute bitch, which
that's being harsh. She's just misunderstood.
Nah, she's great.
Complicated.
Is she? Is that what we're calling her now?
Nobody's just one thing.
Aren't they? What's nice about Linda? Let's start there.
Well, if you go back to series 1,
yes.
So I don't know if you know, I was hired for 8 days.
Yes.
So
you're too good.
Linda wasn't really established, so I ended up being there for 8 years. So I was there from day one to the end. But Linda originally was a party girl. Organised all the social committees. It was just during the series that she started to spiral downwards.
That's true.
But she still had a moral code. I think she's just had a journey.
Yeah, well, that's true. You're quite right. And I remember seeing one of the Aunt Lydia. What's the actress that plays Aunt Lydia in Handmaid's Tale? It'll come to me later. Her saying the same thing. It's like you have to find the humanity in a character even that you don't like.
Yeah.
And I think there must be, tell me if I'm wrong, but there's a certain joy in playing a bitch too.
Oh, there's got to be.
Absolutely. Everything's justified.
Yes.
I mean, they're prisoners for goodness sakes. So in Linda's mind, she's just disciplining.
Yes.
And as, I don't know who's seen it and who hasn't, but as time goes on, other factors come into play.
Yes.
But she was just doing a job, making sure that that they weren't breaking laws and that, everyone was safe from the pesky prisoners.
So Jackie, what do you do? What outstanding performance? Or how do you turn 8 days into 8 years?
Just keep a lot going on in the eyes, so they have to write stuff for me.
I love it.
I just, from my training, no matter how small a role is, I created a whole story for her. So even if I opened a door, and Nellie, you know how many doors I opened in the early series.
So many.
I was always coming from somewhere or going somewhere. And one of the writers came up to me and said, "We really like what you're doing, so we're going to start writing more for you." And we've decided she's going to have a gambling problem.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. And also with a gambling problem and people needing favors, that means you're always going to have access to money from prisoners. So it just once that dropped, it gave me this whole other world. And I built a world for her where she'd been a teacher. Her gambling had got worse. She split up from her husband, and then ended up at Wentworth. So I think having any sort of a backstory makes it more interesting for everyone. And I think also having someone who was unlikable stood out a bit.
All
the other prison officers were friends with the prisoners, not old Linda.
No. Well, as you say, I think just by way of background for anyone listening and watching who hasn't seen Wentworth, Jackie plays Linda, who is a screw, aka running the joint. Like she's one of the prison officers, which in Wentworth land in the old series was very much frowned upon. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, Jackie, even though I loved Prisoner, I love that the new series has been modernised, including your character. Like you said, you've given her a background, even though she does behave in, I think, very controlling, almost like she's a bully in lots of ways. But you have a sense of her background and you have a sense of how she got there. You know, same with Vera, same with B. In the original series, you just go psychopaths.
Yes.
In Wentworth, you go, okay, domestic violence background or drug and alcohol or loneliness. Like, that's a real modern take.
And everybody has a story. That's what I find really interesting about, you know, drama in general, is everybody has a reason for everything they do. There's either they're fighting against something or they're going with their influences. And when I auditioned for Wentworth, it was a reimagining of Prisoner. That's how they were terming it, a reimagining. And I was thinking, oh man, this is either going to go really, really well or really, really badly. Luckily for us, it went really, really well. But those scripts for 8 years,
so good.
When I would get those scripts, I could not put, everything would stop, and I just had to go from beginning to end, and not just looking for what my character was doing, actually looking, just the stories were so good.
I think that sense that everyone has a history and everyone has there's a reason for every action, that comes from a place of real compassion. Yes. That you have compassion for every single person, that there is even the worst, right?
Yes.
And do you think that comes perhaps also with that female ensemble cast? Because I don't feel like if you had a show about a male prison, you'd have that kind of empathy and compassion behind the characters and the stories.
I'm not so sure about that, especially these days. I think we're a lot more sensitive to male and female emotions on screen. But there is, I actually spoke to a guy who'd been a prison officer in a female prison as opposed to a male prison. And he said, I don't know if I'm segueing a bit, but in a male prison, if there's a problem, they'll punch it out and then it's done. In a female prison, if there's a problem, they can wait years to get back at each other.
Oh, that just gave me chills.
It's quite interesting, that nothing, it sounds like I'm really simplifying the male kind. But just the levels of that of revenge that women would go to, he said it was really interesting, and he never felt safe. Whereas with the bloke, they just punch it out and you go, okay, that's done.
Well, and the subtlety of the revenge, the kind of the emotional violence, the fear, and that's where I think through Wentworth you really have that sense of, fear. The character that Susie Porter plays, that I'd forgotten her character name. Mari, that was over years waiting to plot revenge for the death of her son. Literally years just waiting, stalking.
And how dangerous is that? And,
so dangerous.
As a viewer, you're so captivated just watching her
wait. Has it made you feel deeply fearful of ever going to prison? Like, I feel like I watch those things, I'm like, I would not survive.
No, I don't think I would either.
We've got a comment here from one of our viewers saying Linda Miles had some of the best one-liners.
She did, yeah.
She did have some good one-liners.
Yeah, some good throwaways. Yep.
Was that delicious for you?
It was absolutely delicious. I'm originally from a comedy background, so when I started seeing that they were giving Linda these beautiful, sarcastic, witty one-liners, I was like, yes, I know exactly how to play that. I suppose one of the most famous ones would be, well, there's a few, but one of the prisoners was pregnant and her friend said, oh, Doreen wants ice cream. And Linda Miles said, I'll just call Mr. Whippy. She always thought she was a bit above them. They were just tiresome.
It's funny though. Like one of the most interesting characters, and I'm sure you've heard this, is Frankie. One of the reasons I find Frankie interesting is because in the 70s version of Prisoner, there was one out lesbian character. I mean,
Carol Burns.
The reality of that in a women's prison, but anyway. But she was, lecherous and awful and predatory and, all the homophobic stereotypes. We flash forward to Frankie, and I mean, even the straight girls in the prison are like, Frankie, please put me next to Frankie. Like, I'll fuck with her anytime. And even that kind of modernisation was really nice.
Yes. And that we have a very strong queer following. I think the queer community has been very unrepresented on our television screens. So even though, you know, Frankie was in prison, it was so good to see, as you said, you know, the Frankie in Prisoner was so unlikable.
Awful.
Whereas this Frankie was just sassy and interesting.
And hot.
And hot. Yeah. Go Nicole De Silva.
Yeah. But even in how she was played, not just in her physicality, you know, she was unapologetically herself.
Yes.
And that's hot.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
No, Nicole has a massive following.
Yeah.
All around the world.
Let's go to the fans, because you are, you know, just so loved as a series, but also you yourselves. And there's a WentworthCon this weekend, but you've already done it in Chicago and New Jersey, and I believe you're off to Orlando at the end of the year. So what happens at WentworthCon?
Well, I've just come back from the UK, where that was a Screen Star event, which was huge. WentworthCon is massive. So it originated in America. A girl called Kiana Clark has started it. And it's like a Comic-Con. So it is a group of the actors from Wentworth. People buy tickets. There are panels, question and answer panels, merchandise, autographs. They go all day. So they go from 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. So we have one this weekend in Melbourne, which is my hometown. So I think there's 7 of us appearing. If anybody wants tickets, it's WentworthCon/Melbourne. It'll be massive. And people are flying in from America and I think
people
from
are
the
obsessed.
UK, all around the world.
You've got hardcore fans. Do you go dressed as Linda?
No.
You go as Jacquie, but do you get questions as Linda?
Yeah, not a lot of questions about Linda, definitely.
Do you have people dressed as Linda coming to say hello to you?
Yes, I do. And there's one girl in the UK who I met a couple of weeks ago who has a tattoo of Linda on her arm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Wow. If I brought you a trifecta ticket, would that be triggering? Linda has a gambling problem.
Yeah.
So,
we have a lot of research on gambling.
Yeah, you'd have to.
I don't have that gene at all, that gambling gene.
We've got someone actually joining us, I believe, perhaps from the UK, Keely. She'd love a shout out from Smiles because she missed the con in Birmingham.
Oh, no. Is it Keely, did you say?
Keely. Yeah, Keely.
Keely. Hi, Keely. I'm sorry I missed you in Birmingham. I did have a great time in Birmingham.
Can I ask one final very rude question that I'm really hoping you'll answer? Other than the fabulous Linda, who's your favourite character in Wentworth?
Probably the Freak.
Oh, the Freak.
The Governor,
Joan.
played by Pamela Rabe.
Yes. Oh, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
What a journey.
What a journey. Absolutely. Yeah.
She started off as a governor and then ended up in prison.
Yeah.
Being top dog.
Yeah.
Amazing. We do have to move on, but just finally, Jacquie, and this is from another listener, Phoebe, who's obviously a big fan. You gave us, I'll call Mr. Whippy, but she wants to know, what is Jackie's favourite one-liner? What is your favourite one-liner from Smiles?
Well, probably Jamie Oliver. When Pam Rabe's character, the Freak, is worried about the prisoners poisoning her, so she says, and I hand her some food and she says, did the prisoners make this? And Linda says, no, Jamie Oliver.
And aren't I correct in saying that Linda's prone to saying, all right, dickhead?
That's pretty much
There's a
the
lot
subtext.
of
I love that. All right.
That's pretty much the subtext for everything.
No worries, dickhead.
Jacquie, thank you so much. I know that
you,
your fans are
Jacquie.
so excited to meet
me
you
included.
whenever you're out there. So, yeah, we're really pleased to have you on the show.
My absolute pleasure. And come to the con, anyone who hasn't bought a ticket yet.
Amazing.
Thanks, Jacquie, and congratulations on going from 8 hours to 8 years.
Yeah.
All power to you.
Thank you so much.
See you, love.
Thank you.
See ya.